This is your coffee break. Hi, friends. I am here this week to talk to you about writing, and I also have my good friend Kale Lawrence, who has just published her first novel and is working on her second. So welcome, Kale.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. So we're actually here in person, and I won't tell you where we are because that's a secret. But I have in front of me here your very, very first book. It's beautiful. It has this lovely thick paper. I believe you designed the cover yourself.
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit, just real quick, about your novel.
So when people ask me this is probably the hardest question
Yes.
that I ever have to face. Basically, it's a young adult novel, very steampunk / science fiction. It's about a 17-year-old kid right after a major war. He is struggling with his relationship with his uncle, who's his guardian. His uncle is also a renowned war general that was just in the war. So the whole story is basically about him discovering that everything isn't as it seems. Mm-hmm. And the trials and tribulations that come out of not only war in general, but just being a teenager and discovering that things are completely different than how you might have originally imagined them.
So the title of your book is Alex in Wunderstrand,
Yeah.
which I'm like so tempted to pronounce German like Wunderstrand.
Yes, actually some people, I've gone to a couple different book festivals this year so far, and I had one guy came up to me and he was like, Alex in Wunderstrand, and I'm like, holy crap, like he just had this like massive like crazy voice that just emanated out of him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, wow. Okay, but yeah, I actually just pronounce it Alex in Wunderstrand, so very American.
That is fine.
But actually, people have asked me, is it German? Does it mean something? And I wanted something to sound like Wonderland, like Alice in Wonderland, but I didn't know. It was just kind of something that came out of my imagination, and oddly enough, it is kind of a combination of two words. So wonder meaning wonderful or amazing, and strand meaning beach or on a coast. And it just worked out.
Tell me a little bit how Alice in Wonderland influenced this book, if at all.
It actually did. That's one of my most favorite stories of all time. I love the idea of someone in a normal situation being thrust into this beautiful, magnificent world, but then also realizing that world is everything that has always been a part of their entire life from the very beginning. And I've always been interested in kind of like a male's perspective of Alice in Wonderland. And so this story kind of was born from that little thought of, well, can I experience this from a male's perspective, and like how weird can I make this? So it's not quite Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland, I mean, some people will say, oh, is this like a part of the story? No, Lewis Carroll has his stuff. I have mine. This is just kind of influenced, I guess, a little bit by that.
Were there any surprises writing from a male's perspective?
A little bit. I started off thinking, oh, I got this. And honestly, like, no one really has got this unless they've been there before. So I actually, at the time I started writing, which was about 5 years ago, my brother was 17, 18 years old. So I talked to him a lot about like how he handled certain situations. And ironically enough, one of his good friends died that year. So I got to see him in that grieving process.
Oh my gosh.
And so that really was something that kind of influenced like how Alex reacts to certain things too, because I had seen that with my brother, and just kind of asked him about how he would react in certain situations. So I did kind of I need to stop saying kind of, first of all.
No, you're fine.
But I did have a little help there. Which is great because I am first and foremost female, and no matter what characters I put myself in their situation, I can kind of get through what their thought process is, but I really don't know the male perspective as well as the female perspective, so I wanted to experiment with that.
Do people ever like think like, oh, a guy obviously wrote this?
I kind of like it that way. Kale is a little gender neutral, gender non-specific. So I do prefer that. But at the same time, it's just, I want people to really feel for the story and not necessarily jump to the fact that, oh, I'm a female author right off the bat. I mean, I know J.K. Rowling kind of started off that way, and she's like, well, I'm going to go by an initial because I don't want males to be afraid of reading my work. And it is a really real thing, which is unfortunate, but I guess it works, though, that gender-neutral type of name.
I know that a lot of writers go from point A to point B, point A being dreaming and point B being the actual, I'm going to commit to doing this. What was that like for you?
Well, the dreaming part was very much a dream. A lot of my worlds will come from dreams that I've had, but also I got the idea for it when I was just standing in line at Disney World. So in a very dream-filled land.
Yeah.
I was really bored, and I'm like, oh, what can I do to pass the time? Because this is a really long line. But it seemed almost instantaneous. I went from that dream of, here's the story that's just circling my mind, to, I'm going to start writing this down. My normal writing process is go straight to the computer, write. Yeah. This was different in the way that I picked up an old, like, Victorian-style journal and just started writing. And having that thought process and that thought flow from brain to hand to paper was just so perfect for a story that was very much Victorian, how it started off. And
did you write the whole thing that way by hand?
I actually made the switch. I couldn't do the whole thing by hand. My hand was getting a little bit cramped. But after a couple months, I realized this needs to go on the computer, especially with my writing process. I'll start writing, I'll go back and edit, I'll keep writing, I'll go back and edit. So it's almost this teeter-totter effect of writing and editing. And I decided the computer was probably the best way to go after a couple months.
That's fair. So kind of talking about your writing process, you started this book while you were working. Mm-hmm. What did life look like for you as you were writing this book and balancing a job and everything else?
One thing that a lot of people don't realize is that when I started writing this book, I had just gotten a job in the media. So I worked as a broadcast producer / web producer. So I was actually in the whole journalism world. And that's where Imogen's character comes out of things, and how I have a profound love for the media, but also a profound distrust for the media as well. So that just, it looked very much like going to work as a full-time producer, writing real news, and then coming home and writing something that was completely fictitious, which was a great breath of fresh air. The whole writing process took a little over a year originally. And I had put it out in 2011, but then just recently have gone back through and rewritten a lot of it. I had made the transition to not working in TV so much anymore, but more of like a marketing type job. And so I had a little bit of a different perspective when rewriting it, but the original perspective was still there. I
don't know a whole lot of writers who have the chance to go back and restructure their work. So this is like a remastered edition. And with that in mind, was that just something that was uniquely because you self-published?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of authors that go through the traditional publishing process, they seem to have it really good because they've got those editors with them and they've got people helping them really craft their work in a beautiful way. It was self-published in 2011. I really rushed the process, didn't have editors looking over it, so it was a little awkward in that sense, and that's why it kind of came down as soon as it went up. But just recently, now with the re-release, if you will, this has been a much longer process, over the span of about 2 years now with the rewriting process, and also having an actual editor helping me through, and that's been amazing. But yeah, it's very much a self-published type of scenario, if you will.
Yeah. So I'm so curious. I don't know a whole lot about the world of self-publishing. Did you have to find your own editor? I mean, how much of this did you have to discover along the way? Tell me about that.
Self-publishing is a beast. It's only, I would recommend self-publishing to those who are extremely ambitious, but also who have the ability to have someone to either help them with marketing, or you're in marketing, you understand the process. For me, I really love marketing. I love graphic design. I love layouts of books. So that was all kind of on me. But I have a really good friend who is a film/writing professor at the University of Illinois in Springfield. And she's very much into the complexities of stories and how artists really get the story across to their audience. And she's very good with English, and she really kicked my butt in the editing process, and I am so thankful for her.
So would you self-publish again?
I absolutely will, for sure, because I'm already planning. This is a series, so I'm already writing the second book, and it will be put out the same way. I'm also in the midst of a different book, more young adult, like horror, paranormal type stuff. So that's a side project.
I like that you have side projects, stemming off of your side projects.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's very ambitious, but it's something that I really want to experience. So that will also be self-published. So I'm kind of in that self-published world right now, and we're in love.
Good. Oh, I love it. I love it. So while you were writing this book, this first book, and now as you're writing the second book and this other side project book, you are working a full-time job. You are maybe doing some writing even at your old job, at this new job. I mean, when you get home from work, how do you make yourself write? I mean, are you all creatively burnt out at the end of the day? How does that work for you?
Sometimes there are days when I do more writing than others in the professional world, and there's a balance there with whatever client is needing any sort of writing done. It's very business-like. It's very nonfiction. So I do feel great when I can come home and really explore that fictional side of things of writing. But yeah, there's days when I just can't write another word, but then there are others when I can't stop writing, and those are the days I live for.
Oh my gosh, me too. I know exactly that feeling you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's what I live for. You have this beautiful cover that you designed.
Thank you.
And I'll make sure that I put this image in the show notes for today's episode so that everybody can enjoy looking at it. You designed your own cover. What was that process like?
Well, at first, originally, I had hired an artist to do the first edition cover, thinking that, well, she can design what maybe I can't quite do. And at the time, I really didn't have a lot of experience with graphic design, so that was such a help. But I had gotten comments saying, probably not your best cover, or like, this doesn't look quite right, or I would read this if it had a different cover. So I took that into perspective. And then when I was doing this new rewriting process, I knew that I needed a fresh look. And at this point in my life, which was only a couple years ago, I had more graphic design experience, just professionally, just for fun as well. So, and then I had my sister kind of help me out with, she does a lot of photo shoots and different Photoshop stuff for those photo shoots. So she had experience with really the overall aesthetic and look. So she helped me out with that as well. And also helped me with the title graphic too. But the process was great, especially when I found the model to do the stock, and I was like, this is the one.
That's so this is a stock image? Like, did you just go through thousands of pictures?
I did. And then he really stood out, and I was like, okay, this is it. So I already have the next book. That stock is purchased and all ready to go. And
oh my gosh, awesome. I wonder if this guy will ever, if this model will ever look at your book and be like, I'm Alex. Like, I don't know.
I hope so. I would really want that to happen. Actually, with the first cover version, the model on that actually did know that he was on a book cover, and the artist had specifically gotten permission from him to use him on the image. And so with that one, at least, he was like, oh, that's really cool. I'm on the cover. And he was British, apparently. So that was perfect. But No, I really hope that he sees this someday.
I hope
and
so
he's
too.
Like, oh my gosh. All right.
So Alex's stand-in model, if you're out there somewhere, please, yes.
I'd like to hear from you.
Yes. Let us know. Contact Kale. I will have links to contact and purchase books and everything at the end, but if you have time for, let's see, just a few more questions.
Yeah,
okay.
definitely.
So I'm so interested in how series work because I'm not a planner. So you have, your first book is published, you're working on your second one, you have the side project. How far in advance have you planned this series? Did you originally plan for it to be a series? How do you handle character arcs going through multiple books? I'm all ears.
Yeah, so this is really difficult. Any author that's ever written a series is amazing, and I look up to them because it is such hard work. Not only is it hard work to come up with the original idea and carry it through one book, but then you have the recap, the reminding readers what's going on and how things are changing. And just especially with the main character is probably the hardest with the character arcs because they've already been through one. Now you got to step it up a little bit, go through the second one, and this is going to be a 3-book series. So how is he going to advance and go completely above and beyond those other character arcs in the third book? So it's a challenge. I have this is really weird.
Okay,
good. I knew what was going to happen in the first book and had some inklings of what was going to happen in the second book, and still do, obviously, as I'm working through it. But the third is I know what the end is going to be like, but I don't quite know what is going to happen. So it's almost like I'm experiencing this with Alex and with the other characters. Some scenes, even in the first book, weren't planned originally, and they just happened, and it was like, okay, this is going on. This is going to happen. All right. But that just adds to the excitement, I think. And I can tell which chapters were the unplanned ones, and you can just kind of see that maybe my strongest writing comes out in those chapters. And so that's why I've left some of the things unplanned for the end of the second and the beginning of the third, where it's a little bit of a gray area, but I'm experiencing it as I'm going through the story. But I also like to have that vague outline of where am I going, so I know that I'm just not going crazy off the road.
Yes. Yes.
Off the rail, I should say.
Off the rail, yes.
Yeah.
Since we're in steampunk land.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the same way, just thinking about these authors, and yourself is included, and how they're able to write multiple books with iterative character growth and character development. I just think that's so amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking of books, what do you like to read?
Oh my goodness. I am
all
a huge,
the things?
Yes, all the books, all the books. I am a very big Harry Potter fan, so I have been since I was in middle school. Literally grew up with Harry Potter when it was first published. I was 11 years old, so it was just,
that's perfect.
Yeah, it was that perfect, oh my gosh, I'm growing up with the series. I really love Lord of the Rings. I love all those just really classic series that young adults will gravitate towards. I love Sherlock Holmes as well, so I like that mystery and that more refined work of the earlier years.
Yeah.
And I love H.G. Wells and Jules Verne and all of those brilliant minds.
Yes.
In science fiction, and really that kind of helped shape my writing.
Yes.
Yeah, basically everything.
Everything.
I love everything. I've really started to get into local authors as well. So I just, not too long ago, met KT Webb, who's a South Dakota author.
Wow.
And she writes a lot of young adult, kind of fantasy, paranormal stuff, but then also the romance side of things. So really enjoying her work.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, it makes me so happy to own a book from someone who lives very close and have their autograph on the cover and everything. It's just really cool.
I agree. I have a special room in my office where I have this special bookshelf, and on this bookshelf are books that have been written by people I know.
Oh, cool.
And it's awesome. And that's where I grabbed your book from this morning.
Yay.
So it's just, I mean, what a wonderful thing, and what a great community to be a part of, right? It's just, I don't know, the writing community is amazing. So.
Right, it is. Yeah, so supportive too.
Yes.
Not like competitive at all. Maybe a little bit if you don't know them, but it always brings a smile to my face.
Well, let's see. Is there anything else that you kind of wanted to talk about today?
Oh, man.
And then I'm going to ask where people can buy your books.
Okay. Just that I'm really excited for the second Alex in Wonderstrand book. The cover looks awesome. I just put that out not too long ago, and it just brings a whole new element to the series, I think. And just really excited for people to read it,
Yes.
But, of course, the first book, too. Please read that.
Please,
too.
yes. Well, it's a series, so you'll want to start with the first one.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, Kale, where can people find you online? Where can they find your books? How can they pay you money for your books?
Yeah. Well, Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com, all the good places to look up those books. I do have the print version and the ebook version out right now. In the future, the audiobook is coming, so that's in the works right now.
Okay, while you're mentioning that, I kind of hope, and this is a long shot, but that like German dude who saw you at that conference, did you hire him to do the audiobook?
He ran away too quickly before I could get him locked in a contract.
Because that would be amazing. Okay.
Yeah, no, I've had a couple auditions already for the audiobook, and I'm still looking for that perfect voice, but there have been so many talented people that have put in their auditions, and it's just like, what? This is happening. This is real life.
That's amazing. Where are you finding people? Like, I'm just curious.
So I go through a company called ACX. It is owned by Amazon. So they handle the finding of the talent, if you will, the producers, and then it's a very digital process. So it makes it very easy to work with someone, and it's awesome. But yeah, I've kind of put that on the back burner for now as I'm really trying to get the print and ebook versions going. But the audiobook I feel like is going to be awesome.
I hope it is. In fact, I know it is. That's so cool. I just love the idea of like finding the voice. There's just something really magical about finding a spoken voice for these words that you've written. I mean, that's what a cool thing.
And it sounds so crazy being read back to you in that voice too. And it's like, wow, okay, I wrote this, but it doesn't sound like I did, because it sounds one way going through and reading, like what you wrote off your laptop. And I actually have a process where as I'm going through and editing, I read everything out loud. So I literally read my entire book from first word to last word, just to make sure it sounds great. And yeah, it's so different with the whole audiobook process.
This has been so lovely. I'm so glad that we got to have this conversation in person.
Me too.
I love just looking at your face when you're talking about books and writing. You just you just glow, and it's beautiful. So Thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest on the show. Once again, everyone, this is Kale Lawrence. You should purchase immediately her book, Alex in Wonderstrand, or if you are German, Wunderstrand. And yes, thank you so much for taking the time today to be with us.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, wonderful.